West Africa alone has a combined GDP of more than 450 million.
Yeah.
And so if we are trading a lot more amongst ourselves, either over land, either by sea or by air, then government would get revenue, it would generate resources.
Hello wonderful people, you're watching Eye on Port, where we bring Ghana's ports and maritime industry closer to you. At Eye on Port, we also discuss trading issues that have some direct or indirect impact on the ports business. It is made possible by Ghana Revenue Authority, GOIL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link, Meridian Port Services and Phoenix Insurance. Eye on Port is powered by Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times. Viewers, a number of Ghanaians over recent years have clamored for a visa-free Africa. But the question that jumps into the minds of those of us in industry is, what does this mean, or how is this important for trade? This week on Eye on Port, we had the honor to host Ras Mubarak, who is a former member of parliament and a lead campaigner for United Africa. He shared his experience during his expedition to 31 African countries and some of the lessons that could be drawn. He was ably supported by Dodi Seidu, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Trade Academy. This one was an interesting one. Take a listen.
Give us some sense of what you saw on your rounds, during your rounds, when you visited the various nations, and what struck you, some of the salient, takeaways that you took from your trip.
Well, so we traveled across 31 African countries in 160 days. That's
Wow.
5 months. We've done 28 of those countries exclusively by road, and doing 3 of them by air due to circumstances beyond our control.
Right.
And I must tell you that it was an extremely difficult but necessary journey. And it's opened our eyes to what is possible. I mean, this is not the first time that a journey like this has been undertaken. You recall Colonel Muammar Gaddafi.
Yes.
He used to travel, frequently by road. In 1997, he traveled to Nigeria.
Yes.
In 2007, he traveled to Libya he traveled to Ghana all the way from Libya.
Yeah.
Travel by road to, Zimbabwe. And all of these travels, gave him an inkling that indeed Africa has got to trade a lot more amongst itself.
Absolutely.
Having traversed 31 countries, 28 of which by road, we have been more convinced, than ever that this is necessary for Africa. Now, even before we started the journey, there were the doomsayers, doomsday prophets who said this was risky, it couldn't be done, we were going to get kidnapped. And I can tell you, without fear of contradiction, that throughout the 5 months on the road, it was only in Nigeria where we used, armed, security.
Right.
And this was to enable us travel from Abuja to the east of Nigeria into Cameroon.
Right.
You see a lot of, first of all, attempts at extortion. So even at the Togo border with Benin, there were attempts to take money from us. Yes. You see failed infrastructure in places like Malawi and Liberia.
Right.
You see genuine challenges, but inherent in these challenges are also opportunities and positive news.
Right.
For instance, if you go to Southern Africa, you've got the Trans-Kalahari Highway, which connects Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa. And this is a super highway to make travel, movement, especially overland, easier for the people.
Right.
You would expect that, other parts of Africa would replicate, some of these things to make it easier for those who can't afford shipment and those who can't afford air travel to be able to travel freely. You also see a lot of, you hear about a lot of stereotyping, and that occurs even here in Ghana, where people tell you that, they don't want Africa's borders to be open because Nigerians would come in, forgetting that Nigerians don't need, visas to come to Ghana because of ECOWAS protocol. So they have access to several countries. If you look at Southern Africa, particularly South Africa, you hear people say that, oh, we don't want West Africans here because they are coming to take our women.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of ridiculous statements being made as to why we shouldn't integrate.
Yes.
And probably because the case hasn't been made enough. There hasn't been a compelling story told to the African public that if you integrate, not only would it be best for your government,
absolutely,
but it will be best for your young people. Because currently there are more universities in Africa than there were in my generation when I was in school.
Right.
There are more universities in Africa than there were in my father's generation.
Oh.
And this is the most educated, generation we have today.
Right.
And so countries keep churning out young people from the various institutions of higher learning. What that means is that you need sustainable jobs to be able to, keep these young people busy. Because Africa has a very youthful population. Majority of, the people in Africa are young people.
Yes.
And if governments are not careful to keep them busy, we would find ourselves in all manner of, difficulties. You see incidences of terrorist attacks in the Sahel region and, parts of West Africa, especially Nigeria.
Yeah.
These are all happening because there are no sustainable jobs. So, a terrorist organization can tell young people that, look, we'll give you $100 or $200 every month. All you need to do is just go and bomb some markets.
Yeah.
For these young people, they've never seen even, the equivalent of $100 in their local currency.
Yeah.
And so they are more prone, and susceptible to committing crime.
Yes.
As it were, if they had sustainable jobs, they should be able to, say, no, I don't want to deal with these things, And so Africa has huge potential. I mean, you're looking at a population of 3.4, a combined GDP of $3.4, $3.5 trillion.
Yeah, sure.
You're looking at a population of 1.4 billion,
yeah.
People.
Yeah.
West Africa alone has a combined GDP of more than 450 million.
Yeah.
And so if we are trading a lot more amongst ourselves, either over land, either by sea or by air, then government would get revenue, it would generate resources, because we've gotten to a point where we even have to promote cultural exchanges the more.
Sure.
So it's not just about trade, but it's also about tourism.
Yeah.
It's about cultural exchanges. Take what happened in Zambia recently, where our president went to Lusaka in Zambia.
Yeah, the Fugu,
and
the Fugu
people,
incident,
saw our Fugu as a blouse.
Yeah.
I mean, if Africans had a lot of cultural exchanges, you wouldn't be seeing some of or hearing some of these things.
Yeah.
So what happened in Zambia had happened because the African is ignorant of his or her continent, Africa.
Yes.
And that we are more excited to learn about, Paris and London and Washington than we are to learn about our own African, continent. Yeah. So the point is, we've got to trade a lot more amongst ourselves. That will generate revenue. That will create sustainable jobs. That would reduce our dependence on all of these import countries, I call them, who mean nothing. They come here without good intentions. Sure. You take a country like Mauritania, where there's about over 2,000 kilometers of rail, all right? And, people are extracting iron ore straight to the ports.
Wow.
And there's zero regard to, creating an avenue for people to also travel.
Yeah.
So there are no coaches even on these trains.
Yeah. Wow.
And as Africans, we've got to be wary. When a man who is without a shirt comes to tell you he will give you a shirt, you've got to think twice about it.
Absolutely, yeah, that's true.
It is only Africans who can fix Africa. And the sooner we wrap this around our heads and work together and stop the dependency on, some big brother out of the continent of Africa, the better for us. Because Africa is a very blessed country.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the land, whether it's the topography, whether it's the climate, whether it's the people. We are very warm people.
Right.
I mean, we traveling around, 31 countries in 5 months convinced us that Africans are warmer than we even thought, and you would find strangers who are willing to assist. We've had a couple of accidents on the road, and, you won't believe how people had to stop whatever they were doing just to come and support. You don't get these things, or elsewhere on the continent of Africa. And every African country has something special to offer. Whether it's the cuisine, whether it's the way of dressing, whether it's the dance style, whether it's the music, we all have unique selling propositions, And so if we open up, people will be able to trade, people will be able to tour. I mean, currently, we should be promoting intra-Africa tourism, intra-Africa trade, cultural exchanges, educational exchanges, etc. And this has become more necessary now than ever, where the world currently is chaotic, and the so-called Western world, which Africa looked up to for direction on issues of good governance and morality, keep demonstrating that they can't be relied on, that they are not the, standard bearers of, good governance, given their own, activities and hawkish behavior around the world. And so for me, doing all of these things, I've noticed that Africa is blessed with enormous resources. I mean, take DRC, a country that has been at war since Lumumba was overthrown in 1960 or so. Now, this is a country that can comfortably, if they were to get their acts together, take care of the rest of the African continent comfortably for the next 10 years. That is how blessed they are, because they've got enormous natural resources. Now add Angola, which has enormous oil deposits, add Algeria, add Nigeria, add Botswana, diamonds, add Sierra Leone, diamonds, add Ghana, add all the countries, even add Somalia, which recently, discovered huge deposits of natural gas and oil. So we've got everything to get it right. And I am beside myself with frustration that we've signed all of these protocols at the African Union level, yet we are refusing as a continent to ratify these protocols that would make it easier for our people to move freely, that would make it easier for our people to reside in other African countries, that would make it easier for our people to establish businesses. I mean, it should be easier for you, Ken, to leave Ghana and go live, say, Botswana, without any headache. But currently, it will even take you 3 months or more to get a visa to Botswana. That is how long it took us. It took us 3 months to get visas to Botswana. I mean, how do we do these things to ourselves as Africans? We got to Cameroon, and it was a nightmare. Meanwhile, Cameroon is a miniature Africa. This is a country that can comfortably feed the whole of Africa. Given its...
Cameroon?
Yes. They can comfortably...
Has vast lands?
Vast lands, arable land, etc. I mean, why should Russia and Ukraine go into a conflict situation and we starve? And there's food shortages in Africa, a continent with, sunshine 366 days in a year. It's mindless. Why should we bring in fertilizer from out of the continent of Africa when Morocco is the biggest producer of fertilizer? Why should we bring in frozen chicken from South America when Zambia is self-sufficient with poultry and grains? And so we've got to trade amongst ourselves. That is the only way we can, extricate ourselves from this dependence on the West.
Absolutely.
It's the only way we can create jobs for our young people, and it's the only way that government can generate revenue. A final point on this. Currently, our cocoa farmers are crying. Prices of cocoa on the international market has fallen. And so it's affecting government's budget and plans. All right? I mean, this has happened over the years. Every now and then, prices of commodities drop on the international market. We don't control the prices. And when they drop, they, rip to shreds government's plans for the country, be they in infrastructure, agriculture, etc. The time has come for Africa to diversify its economy and to look at other avenues of other revenue streams, of generating resources. And I say there's no better way of, diversifying than through tourism. I mean, it's an enormous market.
I don't see why is huge.
And that is huge. And look at the value chain, from tour guides to drivers to food vendors to people selling, artifacts, etc.
Yeah.
To hotels. I mean, it's a huge value chain. And if we focus, every African country, take Morocco. 2 years ago, Morocco attracted over 17 million tourists.
Yes.
I don't see why Ghana cannot do that. I don't see why Zimbabwe shouldn't do that. I don't see why Sierra Leone and all of these countries in Africa with something special to showcase. I mean, you mentioned London, and a typical African can tell you everything about London or Paris. You mentioned Accra or Luanda in Angola or Mbabane in Eswatini, and we go blank. We should be teaching
They're more
ourselves.
inclined to the West than to Africa.
And it's part of the damage that has been done to us as a result of slavery, then colonization, and now neo-colonization, where we are more proud to accept Western values and culture than we are proud to accept our own culture. Today, if you wear a suit and tie and go into an office, then you are seen as smartly dressed. If you wear your slit and kaba or your fugu, you are seen as somebody who is not sophisticated. Why must it be this way?
I get it. Thank you very much indeed, Honorable. I'll be coming back to you, but let me come to Mr. Dodi Sedu and find out from you. Several years down the line, we have AFTA. Ghana is fortunate to host the Secretariat, National Secretariat, but we don't seem to be doing anything significant under AFTA. What is the issue, and how would mobility, in Africa help, to increase the level of trade that we're having?
Thank you once again, and Ken, for having me, and good to meet you, sir. I think you did really embark on something very significant, and I commend you and your team for making that very bold, taking that bold expedition and also making a statement. On the AFCFTA, I think that what we need to clearly understand is that we are making good progress. If I say we continentally, the AFCFTA Secretariat is making good progress. Why do I say that? I say that because trade agreements are, acts of law that must be integrated into national legal frameworks, beyond which industries, private sector, businesses must see and understand the opportunity and leverage on them. And from where I sit, I see a lot of interest. I see a lot of way being made. And I think that the Ministry of Trade, for example, in Ghana, and many other institutions in Africa, including the Secretariat, are taking those steps. What we need going forward is to accelerate them, is to really give a lot of priority, a lot of removing of the barriers that affect trade, so that these aspirations can happen. When it comes to the aspect of free movement of people, I think that it's being a very critical aspect of enhancing and promoting trade. Now, when trade began, or as trade has progressed, one key thing that has brought trade this far was the insurgence of globalization. Now, there's been deglobalization, but globalization was driven by a number of factors. One of them being technological, that through technology, we were able to connect more. One of them being transportation. We had shipping lines coming up, and also containerization that allowed goods to move across the globe. And with that also came the ability to trade, and then also movement of people became critical. What is happening is that we've made good progress in some of these things, but we've left behind aspects of free movement of people. Now, don't forget, even with ships, aircrafts, and transportation like trucks moving, people move. There are pilots, there are air crew, there are ship workers and captains who move these people. And there are ways and means by which internationally standards and procedures have been developed to enhance their movement. what is become critical, especially for Africa, and this is my view, I believe, so I believe that what is happening is that the global developments and frameworks that were developed were looked more from a Western perspective. Africa has some very unique situations, which includes the amount and the volume of trade that is conducted cross-border, I mean physical border. We have 55 countries, most of which are contiguous. So like Rasmus was saying, you go from, if you take Abidjan-Lagos corridor, 6 countries with 8 corridors, okay? And trade is happening, along these corridors. So we have cross-border trade, we have corridor trade. There are about, I can't count the number, but there are significant corridors that some of which are even overlooked. For example, he mentioned the trip from Abuja going all the way. There's a corridor between Lagos all the way to Kano that goes into Niger. Okay, we have corridors, north-south corridors. So the corridor from Tema through Ouaga to Niamey, the corridor that goes again from Tema into Burkina Faso. There's a corridor from Dakar all the way into Guinea, then into Burkina. Just within West Africa, there are about 6 significant corridors. And Burkina Faso, for example, is a major hub. So all of these corridors, so Abidjan to Ouaga, Lomé to Ouaga, Benin, these are very, very significant corridors. And what I'm saying is that when we talk about trade under the AFCFTA, regional trade, we need to factor these. And so this is where the human movement comes in, because the trucks that move, the traders need to move, and all these people need to move. So yes, once we are looking at enhancing intra-Africa trade, then we need to come up with what, in my view, will be practical ways to enhance the free movement of people in the context of the movement of goods as well as services. And this is where I think, as we have implemented the AFCFTA thus far, we need to look at. Let me also mention that if you go back to the establishment of ECOWAS in 1975, they saw a critical role of the free movement of people. That is why in 1979, the same ECOWAS, the Economic Commission of Community of West African States, had a free movement of people protocol, which came into force. Except that, of course, at the time, it was envisaged to be a trial, that you try movement of people for 90 days, right to movement, right to residency, and right to establishment. And if you look at it, you see that it's supposed to be tempered with passports or valid travel documents and a travel health certificate. I think since we've done this for almost 5 decades, we've done well. We need to move on now to the next stage. Good news is that ECOWAS, what we call the Ghana card, is technically an ECOWAS identification system, which is supposed to enhance the next level of free movement of people. So if you notice, especially the cross-border traders, the Ghana card is a very important document. Except that in some ECOWAS member states, the card rollout has not been done. For example, I know that the company that did the Ghana cards work for us is now rolling out the same thing in the Gambia. So in Benin, it's not been fully rolled out. So these aspects are remaining aspects that we need to look at to enhance regional and continental trade as we look at, moving from the protocol establishment to the AFCFTA implementation. Yes, when it comes to the AFCFTA itself, on the day that the AFCFTA agreement was signed by 40 countries, African states, the same day 32 countries signed the AU Free Movement of People Protocol, except that only 4 or so countries have ratified it. And like Honorable Rasmura was saying, this is where we have a challenge. I think that the African political class are afraid of losing their grip on, allowing movement of people. And this is my view, that the political class...
a turf war or something?
Well, it has to do with control. Because once now, the political class get their mandates from the citizens and the people within a certain geography. Now, if you let that free movement happen, of course, you have to have assurances that people who can vote, people who can elect into office are only citizens. You have to have assurances. And once you cannot guarantee that assurance, then you don't want to allow for free movement of people, right to residency, and right to establishment, which can dilute your political base. This is my view, but it's subject to contention and discussion later on. So this is where I think we need to address and enhance the ability of people to, you know, to move, and also to assure that the political class will have the safety of tenure and safety of mandate as we go forward.
All right, folks, the cut you just watched is only an excerpt of a very insightful conversation that lasted more than an hour with Ras Mubarak and Dodi Seidu. And you can find that if you go to YouTube and type in Iron Port, that and many more information out there. It is now time to hear some comments, thoughts that you shared with us during the course of the live show. After we will go on break and then return with more news. Stay tuned.
Abi Temi from Accra says, hello Iron Ports. Do you think a visa-free Africa could encourage more youth to explore opportunities within the continent instead of migrating to Europe?
You need more than just the ability to have a visa, right? So the skills, the kind of opportunities that exist that need people to move to do. There are certain areas or certain locations in Africa where people need certain skills, certain capabilities. And so based on the question, I would suggest that the youth who are looking to explore continental opportunities should build knowledge-based skills and certain capacities in order to be able to take advantage of them.
Yeboah from Keta says, hello Iron Ports. Visa-free Africa sounds good, but will our security systems be strong enough to handle it?
If Rwanda is doing it, a country that has been through war, a country that shares border with Congo,
Burundi,
DRC, and Burundi, I don't see why we can't do it.
Absolutely.
So we should ask the Rwandans, how are they able to do it?
Okay.
You enter Rwanda and the systems know that you are in Rwanda. You overstay, the systems will find you out.
You out. Wow.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP will fill ya, huh? Will be feel. Goil, good energy. Yeah, yeah.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Welcome to today's edition of Serene Insurance Business News. We present to you Serena.
You're right. You can complete an entire insurance process for the purchase of any motor and other insurance products, from onboarding to issuing a motor insurance sticker and policy certificate, all on WhatsApp in less than 10 minutes. Serena is simple to use and it prioritizes user ease and flexibility. You can either use voice notes or text to effortlessly issue your instant policy, cross-platform renewals, claims, and also process your payments through mobile money, Visa, and MasterCard. To engage Serena, just search for Serena Insurance on all social media handles and scan the Serena barcode or save her number 0500 517 114 and start chatting her on WhatsApp immediately.
There you have it. Serena is not just a tool. It's an innovation by Serene Insurance designed to redefine how motor and travel insurance are accessed and managed. Speed, convenience, and reliability.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
At Phoenix Insurance, we make the unpredictable predictable and the uncertain certain with our range of products, including motor insurance, fire insurance, engineering insurance, marine insurance, accident insurances, and all types of bonds. We have you covered. We also support you with risk management advice to enable you stay focused on your business. Take a policy with Phoenix Insurance today. We help you rise from adversity stronger and more secure. Contact us on 0302-246319 or 0302-246644 or any of our branches, agencies, and brokers spread across the nation. You can as well connect with us on our WhatsApp chatbot. FIBA is waiting to assist you. Make the future predictable with Phoenix Insurance. Phoenix Insurance, a delightful service experience delivered with wisdom.
Welcome back, viewers. It is now time to take our local news segment. The Ghana Revenue Authority Customs Division has intercepted 12 articulated trucks in a major enforcement operation conducted along the Dowenya-Tema Road. The operation was led by the Deputy Commissioner in charge of operations, Aaron Kano, with support from the Customs Preventive Unit and collaboration with the Revenue Mobilization Task Force of National Security and enforcement officers from both the Tema Collection and the Customs Headquarters. The intercepted vehicles form part of 18 trucks that had been electronically gated out of the system. Preliminary investigations indicate that the trucks were declared as transit goods originating from Akanu and destined for Niger through Kulungugu, but were moving without the mandatory customs human escort, constituting a serious breach of transit procedures. The Deputy Minister for Finance, Honorable Thomas Nyakwampim, said the 12 intercepted trucks were found to be carrying a total of 45,055 packages of edible cooking oil, tomato paste, and spaghetti, estimated to represent a potential revenue loss of 85,306,578.33 Ghana cedis, with an initial assessment placing the recoverable revenue at 2,619,748.81 Ghana cedis. He said investigations are ongoing to determine the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of the remaining 6 trucks, as well as any possible collusion or procedural breaches.
So this is a huge revenue leakage to the state. I'm here with Commissioner General, customs officials, and other officials who are interested in this particular exercise. I've asked Commissioner General to conclude investigations within 1 week. We are told that 2 customs officials were expected to accompany, to escort these goods that were purported to go all the way to Niger. Unfortunately, they were not. We will want to find out why.
The Commissioner General of GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sapon, assured the public of its commitment to protecting state revenue, safeguarding the integrity of the transit regime, and ensuring that all attempts to undermine government revenue are dealt with decisively.
As a state agency responsible for revenue mobilization, I want to assure the nation that this exercise is going to continue because our mandate is to ensure that we raise the revenue for national development. Again, we want to sound a caution to all businesses and traders that they should voluntarily carry out their businesses in a compliant manner and we'll support them as partners in national development. However, businesses that try to do activities or carry out their businesses in a manner that will try to usurp the right of the state and deny the state of the needed revenue, the strong arm of the law that we are mandated to do as we are experiencing or seeing today, will stretch it. And when we get hold of them, we'll ensure that within the confines of the law, we'll apply it.
The seized trucks have been transferred to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority's transit terminal, where they are currently under strict customs supervision with logistical support from GPHA. Stakeholders in Ghana's fisheries sector have convened in Accra for a high-level workshop aimed at improving vessel safety, fisher welfare, and emergency response systems. The Ocean Center's Ghana workshop, held at the African Regent Hotel, brought together regulators, industry players, labor unions, and development partners to chart a safer future for Ghana's fishing industry. Under the theme, Safer Fishing, Stronger Livelihoods, the workshop focused on strengthening safety compliance, protecting workers, and improving coordination during emergencies at sea.
There was a video screening before we started, and you look at it and you realize that one fisher is taking care of at least more than 20 people. So if this fisher goes out to sea and does not return, it means you have multiple effects. The 20 people, their livelihoods has been cut. And so it is very essential that we tackle these safety issues and nip them in the bud.
One of the things we've also come to notice is that these numbers are very underreported. A lot of times there are accidents at seas with small boats clashing with larger ships, dangerous navigation at night times, and other hazardous situations which are not always reported. So that tells you that this is something that collectively we have to come together to look and solve this problem.
And the Ocean Center is not a one-year program or two-year program. It is designed to be a long-term initiative, because we know that if we want just to have some discussions, okay, a one-year project can say, okay, we arrived at that. Yes, we'll have the report. But if you really want to see changes, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And that's why we are here, with all of you gathered and inviting you not only for a one-year adventure, but to stay on board with us in this vessel that really wants to arrive somewhere and make a difference.
In a keynote address delivered on her behalf, Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Emilia Arthur, underscored the need for stricter safety enforcement and stronger protection for fishers, noting that safeguarding lives at sea is central to sustaining Ghana's fisheries economy.
Let us ensure that the people that we deploy out there, we put them first before the money. Because if you keep losing your seafarers, your crew members, what do you think will happen to the industry in the next 10, 20 years to come?
A major highlight of the event was the presentation on the Marine SafeNet Ghana project by Friends of the Nation, which aims to improve the stress reporting systems and enhance coordinated emergency responses for fishers operating in Ghanaian waters.
It's a solar-powered device, works on satellite connection. It has automatic capsize reporting, so there are 3 emergency contacts assigned to it. When canoe capsizes, it sends alerts with the GPS information, where, when, and what happened. Not exactly what happened, but when and where the incident happened. There is an SOS button on the device where the fishers can turn to the SOS when they are in distress, and the device will send an alert to the emergency contact and also the monitoring dashboard. Then a sort of help can be sent in that regard.
Panel discussions featuring the Fisheries Commission, Ghana Maritime Authority, Ghana Industrial Trawlers Association, Ghana Canoe Fishermen Council, and the National Union of Seamen, Ports and Allied Workers examine vessel safety compliance, worker welfare, and collaboration across the fisheries value chain. Let's now go overseas and take some international news.
The CMA-CGM Group
has created a new global container terminal company, United Ports LLC, in partnership with US-based infrastructure investor Stonepeak, in a move designed to reinforce its position in strategic gateway ports while unlocking fresh capital for future expansion. Under the agreement, Stonepeak will acquire a 25% equity stake in United Ports for approximately $2.4 billion, with CMA CGM retaining 75% ownership and full operational control of the assets. The transaction consolidates 10 container terminals previously held within the group's portfolio under a dedicated vehicle based in the United States. The terminals, transferred into United Ports, span key trade lanes across North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. German container shipping company Hapag-Lloyd has signed a major agreement with Israel's ZIM Integrated Shipping Services, confirming a deal that will reshape the global shipping industry. Under the agreement, Hapag-Lloyd will acquire all of ZIM's shares in a transaction valued at more than $4 billion. Once completed, the combined business will operate a fleet of over 400 vessels with a total capacity exceeding 3 million TEU, transporting more than 18 million TEU annually. This would rescue Hapag-Lloyd's position as the world's fifth largest container shipping line. Customers are set to benefit from stronger global network, particularly on Trans-Pacific, Intra-Asia, Atlantic, Latin America, and East Mediterranean trades.
We now have our Word of the Day segment that introduces words, phrases, and jargons that we often use in this industry so you can get familiar with them.
Appraisement. Determination of the dutiable value of imported merchandise by a customs official who follows procedures outlined in their country's tariff, such as the U.S. Tariff Act of 1930.
The health and safety tip of the week is next.
Burn kits. A burn kit is a specialized first aid kit designed to treat burn injuries. It typically includes items for managing both mild and severe burns caused by heat, chemicals, electricity, or radiation. The essential components often found in a burn kit include burn dressing, burn ointment, and other tools to provide immediate care and minimize damage. These kits are typically important in environments with high risk of burns, such as construction sites or kitchens.
This is the time we have a look at the schedule of vessels that have berthed in the ports of Tema, Accra at the anchorages of both ports, as well as those expected in the coming weeks, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rates, which you may need to know to clear your cargo with. Now, this is where we draw the curtain on this week's edition of Eye on Port. We hope, as usual, you've been informed and educated. All Eye on Port content can be found on our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and share our videos. Thank you for watching.